President, please be seated. The court is back in session, and the floor is given back to the co-prosecutors to resume the questioning. You may now proceed. Co-prosecutor. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors, everyone in and around the courtroom. Good afternoon, Madam Witness. We discussed about Jarai minority people before we broke, and those people were brought in the detention facility, and you stated that you knew that those people were Jarai. My next question is, do you recall that those Jarai people were detained at that place, and how long were they detained there before they were asked to leave that building? Answer. It was 3 or 4 weeks before they were asked to leave the building, and those Jarai people were told that they had to return back to their village. Question. In the written record of the interview, when you were interviewed in Ratanakiri, document E3/9357 at question answer number 6, you stated, quote, in about 3-4 days later, these minority people were told that they would be taken back to their birth district. So again, my question is, did those people stay in the detention facility for 2 or 3 days before they were taken away, or how long were they detained at that place? Answer. 2 or 3 days later, they were sent away. Co-prosecutor, thank you. Do you know what had happened to those people after the security guards called them out to go back to their birth district? Answer. I do not know about that. At that time, the Jarai people were told to leave the building in order to go back to their birth district, and those Jarai people were tied in a string. Question. In the same written record of interview, you further stated, quote, but about a few hundred meters or nearly 1 kilometer, in parentheses, the distance is not clearly recalled, at the rim of the bomb crater, these ethnic minorities were tied to one another in a string and taken to be killed by the heads of the holes. I saw it while I was picking vegetables near that location. I was so scared and hid in a nearby place. So my question is, did they actually return to their birth district, or what happened to them after that time? And where were you when those people were tied up and walked away? Answer. President, please hold on. Mr. Cooper, you have the floor now.
I object to this question. It's a very leading question. It is indeed true that she first answered the question that she didn't know, and that then it is practice to confront the witness with what she has testified before. But to put now the whole sentence without any steps in between to the witness is very much leading. having the effect, I think, that her answer now is worthless. But I object to the leading nature of the question.
Co-prosecutor, in fact, I asked an open question about her recollection of the incident, and her account was inconsistent with her previous testimony. For this reason, I quoted the extract from the document and then confront her with it. Mr. President, could I continue with that question? President, you can ask. Co-prosecutor. Co-prosecutor. Madam Witness, you told the investigator that those people were tied in a string and then taken away. So, which version of your statement is correct? So, how can you say about that? President interrupts. Please observe microphone, Madam Witness, before you speak. Answer. Regarding the answer that I provided to the interview, that statement is correct. But now I am a bit nervous. So sometimes I may not have given the correct response. As I told earlier, I was picking up the vegetables and I was staying in a nearby place. From that location, I could see Charai people were smashed and then thrown into the pit. A few days later, I returned to that location and I could smell the decomposed body from the crack open soil. So I could assume that it made me to believe that those people killed were Charai people. And at that location, I also saw the clothing of the dead people, and those clothes were taken and given to other people to wear. So it made me to believe that those Charai people had all been killed. They never returned to their birth districts. From that time onward, I started to feel terrified, and I was talking to myself quietly that it would one day my time. Co-prosecutor, you stated earlier that Charai people had been killed. So what kind of weapons or tools did those security guards use to smash and kill those Charai people? President, please hold on, Madam Witness. You have the floor now, Cooper.
I object also to this question. First, the witness said that she doesn't know what happened to the Charai. Then she said they were killed. But then subsequently, in the second part of her answer, she's saying that she believed that the decomposed bodies must have been the Charai. Now that seems to imply that she actually hasn't seen it, but is drawing a conclusion upon what she saw in respect of those decomposing bodies. So now, just to put it all together and formulate the question that she actually saw it is going too far, so I object.
Co-prosecutor, I do not really understand the grounds behind the objection put by the counsel for the accused. Actually, it was the submission from the defense counsel for the accused. The witness has stated, and she said that she saw the killing or smashing of those Charai people. So my question is related to the facts she is testifying before the chamber. Mr. President, may I'll be allowed to answer that question. President, the objection by Cooper, the defense counsel for the accused, is appropriate. The witness said it made her to believe, or she may have believed. So this is the possibility that the witness may know about that fact. Perhaps the co-prosecutor did not hear the word it made her to believe, or she could have believed that those people were Jarai. She gave an interview to the investigator last time, but this time she is testified before the chamber. So if her answer is not clear, and you can ask for clarification to elicit the specific facts happening at that time. And if it is the answer from the witness is not clear, and sometimes the witness say it make her to believe, and so we do not know for sure whether she witnessed or saw that personally. So you have to ask the question to clarify the point if you want. Co-prosecutor, you stated that you saw Jarai people killed or smashed. Did you see that actual happening? And why? What made you to believe that those people were Jarai? Answer: I did not see the actual smashing. Before that incident, I could see the pits were empty, and after Jarai, people had been taken away. 2 or 3 days later, I went back to that location, or I went to a place close to the pits. The pits were fully covered after that incident. For instance, on that day, on one specific day, Jarai people had been taken out, and the days later, a few days later, I returned to the pits, and I could see that the pits were fully covered. Co-prosecutor. So, in fact, you saw the empty pits, or the pits which were fully covered later on. You did not see the actual smashing or killings. Is that correct? Answer: in fact, I saw the pits. Rather, one pit. I saw one pit. Co-prosecutor, you stated that you saw security guards coming to call Jarai people to go back to their birth districts. So how many of Jarai people had been called to go back to their birth districts? A security guard was coming to call the Jarai people out, and I do not know whether there were some other security guards waiting outside. The Jarai people had been tied up in a string. 10 of them were tied up, and then they were walked away. Co-prosecutor, earlier you have told the chamber that the clothes that you saw were returned to other detainees to wear. Could you give a description of that clothes? How long after that incident that you saw the clothes? Answer: 2 days later, clothes were distributed to other people to wear. Question: why did you say that those clothes were in fact collected from the location where Jarai people had been killed? Answer. The colors, in fact, had the clothes, in fact, had different colors, and it looked like the traditional clothing. Those clothes were soaked in a water were put in the water for 1 day, and later on the clothes were distributed to other detainees. But I could still remember the color, so I could say that those clothes may have been those of Jarai people. Question: were those clothes distributed to the detainees in the same building as the same building where you were detained? Answer: the clothes were distributed to the detainees in the same building. Co-prosecutor, thank you. In relation to an individual by the name Owi, do you know this individual? What did he or she do while you were detained at that center? Answer: Owi was a guard guarding all buildings. He was the actual perpetrator. Question: he was the guard and he stood guard at the center guarding all the buildings, and you also stated that he was the actual perpetrator. What did he do exactly at the time? Answer: when Owi released detainees to go to work, and when those detainees uh, committed any infraction, he would hit the offender with the rifle butt, or sometimes he hit and kicked. And every time people were to be killed, he was the one who responsible for coming and calling the detainees out. Question: why did you say that? What made you to believe, or what incident did you witness and made you to believe that he was the actual perpetrator and did such activities? Answer: I saw the activities that he did on some occasion. He was cruel and vicious. I was so terrified and I was afraid of him. One day I saw him walking a detainee or detainees. Sometimes I may have not made the right points and may not respond correctly to the question asked by the co-prosecutors, because I may have confused with the with because my memory does not serve me well. One day when I was picking up vegetables, I saw a woman was walked by him, and that woman implored him, but the Owi, Owi hit her with the rifle butt. At that time, the woman did not die yet, and she was imploring Owi. I was picking up vegetable in a nearby place, and I witnessed the incident. I secretly looked at that incident, and a while later, that woman was smashed with the back of the hole. She died as a result. This was the actual incident that I witnessed at that time. So I As I said, he was the actual perpetrator since he was so cruel and vicious. Co-prosecutor, you stated that you saw a woman was smashed and killed by Taoi. Do you know that a woman? Where was she from? Answer, I do not know that woman. I do not know where she was from. She was taken out from a different building. Her legs were shackled. Question, her legs were shackled or chained. So while she was being smashed by Taoi, was she still being chained and shackled? President, please observe the microphone, Madam Witness. Answer, she was locked to the chain while being walked by Taoi. Question, did you see other killings of detainees besides that woman? Answer, I did not see other killings, and at the time, the other 3 women who were picking up vegetables with me saw that incident. All of them died and passed away already. Co-prosecutor, you stated that you and other 3 people saw the incident of killing. Is that true? Answer, yeah, all of us witnessed that incident. Co-prosecutor, my question is different from that. In fact, I want to ask whether there were other killings besides the killing of a woman that you witnessed on that day. Answer, I witnessed only the killing of that woman. Co-prosecutor, regarding Taoi, besides being a security guard, do you know the function or the position of that OE? Answer, I do not know. Besides he was being a security guard, I only know that he was the one who always walked the detainees out of the building, and he was also responsible for taking all detainees back into the building. Co-prosecutor, do you happen to know an individual by the name Nhok at the security center of Okansai? President, Madam Civil Party, please observe the microphone. Answer, I used to hear people mention the name Nhok. I myself never saw his face. Co-prosecutor, in the same written record of interview, the same document number, question and answer number 7, you made a mention about the remove wall of a gallbladder or gallbladder. Could you give a description of that incident to the court? What did you know about that removal of gallbladder? Answer, I heard people say that a gallbladder was removed. I was a worker I was walking close to a kitchen, and that kitchen hall was along the road that I used to walk. one person was so cruel and brutal. He used the bamboo stick out of the wall and then cut open the body to remove the gallbladder, and that person was left dying at that time. Co-prosecutor, I do not really understand your answer. Did you witness that incident, or did you only hear about the removal of gallbladder? Could you make it a bit clearer for the court? Answer. Ta Oi was in charge of the building. When a person was removed out of the building, it was said that the liver had to be removed out of the body so that the liver could be cooked for meal. The detainee did the action cutting open the body to remove the liver, and Taoi stated by himself that he ate gallbladder of human beings, and every time Taoi went in and out of the kitchen hall, he said that he ate gallbladders of human beings.
Deputy Co-Prosecutor, thank you, Madam Witness. In the interest of time, I'd like to hand the floor to my international colleague. President, yes, in fact, you may proceed. However, please alert the chamber how you share the remaining time with the lead co-lawyers.
Mr. President, they've told us that they need something between 30 and 40 minutes, so I'm going to be very brief, less than 5 minutes, I hope. Madam Witness, I just have a very few questions for you. So as I understood your testimony this morning, you told us that when you were first detained at the prison, you were in a room that was locked from the outside. And then later, you were moved to a room that was not locked from the outside. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
And do you have any way of estimating how long you were in the room that locked before you were moved to the room that did not lock?
When we arrived, we were detained in that room for a night, and the next day we were put in a room where it was not locked.
And so is it correct then that by the time that the Jirai women arrived, you were already in the room that did not lock?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I just have a few more questions about your daughter's birth. You gave birth to a child during your time in Okansang, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. My child was born while I was detained in a old consignment prison.
And during your pregnancy and at the time of birth, were you given any sort of medical care?
No, there was no medical service. However, there was a male medic who was there during my delivery and who actually cut the umbilical cord And in fact, I was assisted by other female inmates.
And after your daughter was born, were you able to take care of her, or were you required to immediately begin working?
After the delivery, I remained with my baby, and other inmates would assist me with firewood in order to warm me up, and I was not given any medicine or pill to take. Only the female inmates who were in the same building that assisted me.
And how long after your daughter's birth were you required to begin working again?
After I had some strength, then I was sent to cook rice in the kitchen, and I could be with my baby at the time. However, I did not have any breast milk to feed my baby, and for that reason I gave her sugarcane juice to drink. And after that I was sent to shoulder carry woods. I had to carry the wood planks from the forest. I feel the pain when I think of what happened at the time. It vividly plays in my mind. The situation was so miserable for me. When you ask me this question, it triggers the pain inside me.
I know this is a difficult topic, but this will be my last question. Could you just give us an idea of how the conditions in the prison affected your daughter's health during the time that she spent there?
Because I did not have the breast milk to feed her, then I asked for sugarcane juice to feed her, and that happened because I did hard work, namely carrying wood. Luckily enough, the baby survived and is still living now. She was fed with sugarcane juice at the time.
Thank you, Madam Witness. Thank you, Mr. President.
President, thank you. And the floor is now given to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties. You may proceed. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors, everyone in and around the courtroom, and good afternoon, Madam Witness. My name is Bích Ong. I and my colleague Marie Giro are lead co-lawyers for the consolidated group of civil parties, and I have some questions to put to you. Allow me to backtrack the event a little bit. That is the time that you were instructed to board a truck in the rubber plantation. Can you tell us where you instructed to go and get on the truck? in an orderly manner, or were you threatened or not? Answer. It was the village chief who told us to board the truck to go for a meeting at S8 in Botum area. Question. And when you were at the truck, you saw armed guards. Did you get on the truck by yourself? Answer. Yes, I did it by myself. At that time, guards were armed, including the village guards. Question. After you boarded the truck, where were the guards? Did the guards also get on the truck? Answer. The guards were sitting at the back of the truck together with us. Question. You mean at the rear compartment of the truck? Can you describe to the court about the kind of truck that you were on? Was it a fully covered truck, or was it an open roof truck? Answer. It was a truck with an empty rear compartment, and I do not know how to describe it more than that. So the rear compartment was large and empty, and we got on the truck and we sat in that compartment, and the guards also boarded the truck and sat at the rear. However, I do not know the model of that truck. Question. So I believe, if I am not mistaken, it was an open roof rear compartment truck. Is that correct? Answer. It was not. The rear compartment was not covered. Question. And when you arrived at the detention center, or after that, did you see that truck again? And if so, how frequent did you see it at the center? Answer. I did not see the truck again after I was detained in the center, because usually the vehicles would stop far from where I was detained. Question. I'd like to talk now about other people who were sent to the detention center. You just said that the car, the truck, did not park near where you were. And besides the group of the Jarai people, did you witness the arrival of any other groups of people who were sent to their detention center? Answer. I saw people who were brought in and then they were placed in separate buildings, but I did not know of their nationality or ethnicity. I only knew of those Jarai people who were detained with me. question. Maybe my question is not clear enough. Let me talk about the building where you were detained. Besides you, a Khmer woman and a group of Charai people, were there any other detainees who were brought in and detained in your building or room, whether they were Vietnamese or Khmer or of any other ethnicities? And there were only Khmer and Charai people in that building. There were no Vietnamese. So I will not ask you further questions about other ethnicities. Let's now turn to the work that you did at the center. Can you tell the chamber whether that detention center was labeled as re-education center? Answer. I did not know. Maybe the actual name is re-education center. Question. During the time that you stayed in that center, were you ever called to attend any meeting with anyone there? For example, a study session or a study meeting? Answer. No, there was none. Question. Are you sure that there was no meeting organized or there was no study session organized for you? Answer. There was none. Question. So there was no such meeting, or you did not know if meetings took place in the center? Answer. There was no meeting, and of course I did not know if there were any other meetings. Question. So I will not ask you any further about the meetings. Let me talk about your living condition. You have been asked by the co-prosecutors about your young child. So I'd like to touch upon that issue as well as your living condition and the condition of those who were detained there. Regarding your young daughter, what was her health like? Answer. My child was young and was skinny. When I went to work, the child would stay with the caretaker there. If children had enough breast milk, then the children would be healthy, but my child was not that healthy. Question. And did your child fall ill rather frequently during your detention there? Answer. Yes, rather frequently. Question. And was your child looked after when she was sick? And what kind of a sickness that she had? Answer. Usually it was fever, and the male medic would bring some medicine for her. Most of the time she had fever and cough. Question. And after you gave her the medicine, did she recover? Answer yes. Question. In your response to the co-prosecutor, you said that there was no medical treatment or service, but now you said that a male medic gave some medicine to your baby. Could you tell the chamber what condition for the inmates or for people there to receive the medical treatment? Answer. My feeling was rather overwhelmed when I am here. However, I can say that if my baby had a fever or cough, then I could ask for medicine. For me, I do not really understand well about the word service in Khmer or Sewa, but if you talk about treatment, then yes, if my child got sick, then I could ask for medicine for her treatment. Although my child was not with me all the time, as my child was with the caretaker. Question. So, do you mean that you did not actually know well about the well-being of your child? Answer. Because I went to work outside and my child was left with a caretaker, so it was up to the caretaker to ask for medicine if my child had fever, and I only saw my child at night time. Question. You also stated that you saw the carried wood planks from the forest. Can you tell the chamber where did you saw the carry the wood plank, and how hard was it to carry a wood planks? Answer. I was asked to saw the carry wood planks, and the distance was rather far. And at that time I had just delivered my baby and I could not carry it. There were older women who came from other areas, and she tried hard and she could sort of carry the planks. And after she finished, she returned to help carry my share. Because whenever I stood up carrying the plank, my knees shook. So those women took turn to help me carry the wood planks. And before we reached the place where we had to drop the wood planks off, I would try to carry the wood planks. And usually we would have to carry two wood planks, and it was rather heavy. We had to carry those wood planks from the forest where the wood was sawn, and of course the road was not smooth, it was rough, but I could not carry it from the wood, and those old women assisted me. Question. How far was the distance from the forest where you had to carry the wood planks to where you had to drop it off? Answer. It was about the same distance as from the main road to the car park here of this court. So I cannot tell you the distance. And as I have just said, it was from the main road to the car park near this courtroom. Question. If I put it to you that the distance is about 300 meters, is that about right? Answer. I could say the distance was from the main checkpoint at the main road to our location here, and I cannot give you the number of meters. Question. Thank you. And I'd like to ask you about your health condition and your food regime. While you had just delivered your baby, did you have sufficient food to eat? Answer. We were given a food ration that is a bowl each, and whatever soup that was given to us, we simply ate it. Although I had just delivered a baby, I did not receive any special food regime at all. Question. And the food that was given to you, was it sufficient for you who had just delivered your baby? Answer. Of course it was not sufficient. When we were detained there, we were considered prisoners, so the food given to us was not that sufficient, but we had no choice and we just ate what was given to us. Question. I don't have many more questions, and I'd like again to ask you about your living condition or the living conditions of other inmates. While you were in the detention center, did you have a proper sleeping facility, for example, a sleeping mat, a pillow, or a mosquito net? Answer. There was none. Question. So, if there is the case, what did you sleep on? Answer. We had a few sets of clothes, so we used those clothes as our pillow. And of course we had no mosquito net. Sometimes we had to chase the mosquitoes away, or sometimes we had to make a fire to chase the mosquitoes away. Question. On the topic of hygiene, where did you bathe yourself? Answer. We went to the creek to bathe ourselves, and we also washed our clothes in that creek. Question. While you were bathing yourself with others, were you being guarded? Answer. The creek that I refer to was located near the kitchen and near the building where the chief resided, so we were not guarded while we bathed in that creek. Question. What about the male prisoners who were chained in the building? Can you describe their situations? answer. For them, they were not allowed to go out and bathe. But I don't have any further question for you, Madam Witness, and I thank you for answering my questions. And Mr. President, I conclude my question now. Thank you. President, it is now convenient for us to take a short break. We take a break now and resume at 10 to 3. Court officer, please assist the civil party, rather the witness during the break time, and invite her as well as the TPO staff back into the courtroom at 10 to 3. The court is now in recess.